Okay, this lesson is over the TEK 7.7a, and it is using verbal descriptions, tables, graphs, and equations to simplify the slope form y equals mx plus b. We talked about this a while back, okay? So these are things that you should remember to do. Remember one thing that I said is that and I'm going to zoom in on this example, is that your plus 1 is where it hits the y-axis. So that means wherever it is 0 as x, it is 1 on the y-axis, okay? And so another way to figure out how to fill in the rest of this graph, let's say I didn't even know that, okay, is to take each x number and fill it in where it's at. So for example, I am going to take and say, okay, -2 times, now I'm going to put in -4. -4 plus 1. Well, what's -2 times -4? 8 plus 1. What's 8 plus 1? 9. You have your first ordered pair. Okay, now let's do it with 2. So the problem is -2 times x, and instead of writing x, we're going to put in the x number, -2 plus 1. All right? -2 times -2 is +4. +4 plus 1 is 5. Okay, let's do the 0 in case, let's say you don't remember what I said, okay? -2 times x, which is 0, plus 1, all right? -2 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 1 is 1. Okay, I'm going to come down here so we can do some more. I'll be doing it down here because I ran out of room. So again, it's -2x, and my x this time is +2 plus the 1. So negative and a positive gives me a -4 this time. I have a -4 and a +1. Different sign, subtract, so I get 3. Different sign, keep the sign of the larger. The larger number is 4, so I'm going to have a -3 this time. Okay, and last one I'm going to do 4. Okay, -2 times my x number. My x number is +4 this time, plus 1. So negative and a positive gives me a negative. So 2 times 4 is 8. So I have -8 plus 1. Different signs, subtract. Keep the sign of the larger. So this becomes a -7. All right, so now you have the equation. You see the equation in a table. And now I'm going to put it in the graph with our ordered pair because these are each our ordered pair. Okay, so I'm going to start with the first one. Remember, x is right here. X goes left to right. Y runs up and down. Okay, so we're going to do -4 first. So we're going to go left 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. But then we're going to go up because positives are up all the way to 9. There's my first dot. This is -4 and 9. Okay, second one, -2. That means I'm going to go back -2 up to +5. There is my -2 and my +5. 0, 1. This is called the y-intercept. It's where it crosses the y-axis. It's the only time it crosses the y-axis. Okay? 2, 3. So now I'm going to move in the positive direction, but it's a -3, so I'm going to go down this time to -3. Oh, sorry. That was my 0, 1. This is my 2, -3. And now I'm going to go over to +4, down to -7, because that's my last ordered pair. So this is 4, -7. And if you notice, your dots should be in a line. Because it is a linear equation, it does not form a triangle or a square or a happy face. It forms a straight line. So there you have a slope form represented with a graph, represented in a table, represented with an equation. The only thing missing from this one is word problems. But hang on, I'm going to find a word problem for you with that one. Okay, on this example, they give you the line graph, and they're asking you to tell what the equation is. Okay, so this is where you have to remember your formula. Okay, y equals mx plus b. Remember, Miss Harrington said that the b is where it crosses the y-axis. Where does it go across the y-axis? Right here at 0, 0, which is the origin. I actually should have wrote it down here. Y equals mx plus b. Okay, so since it crosses the y-axis right here, it's going to be plus 0. Miss Harrington told you that your y doesn't change and your x doesn't change. But in order to find your m, you pick 2 good points on that line, and by good points I mean where it crosses the x and the y perfectly. So here's a wonderful point. It crosses perfectly. Here's a wonderful point. Here's one, and we keep going on. Okay, so let's count how we do rise over run. Remember, rise over run to see what the slope is, how much it keeps rising and running. Okay, so it rises up 1, so that's a positive, rises up 1, but it goes backwards 1. When it goes backwards, it becomes a negative. Okay, so then you just divide these. What's 1 divided by negative 1? Negative 1. If you remember slope guy that we did, you can remember that this slope is slanted in the negative direction, so you should have a negative number here. So to clean this up, what this would look like all clean is y equals negative x, because we don't need the 0. I know there's nothing here. And also, if we have only 1, if we have more than 1, it's going to say negative 2x or negative 3x, but since we only have 1, we can leave that 1 off. But I will say, if you wrote this, I would not count it wrong. This is what you're going to have to clean up for starting next year, because they will not give you this. You will just get this. Okay? Let's look at the next problem. Okay, here's one with a word problem, and they gave it to you with a graph. It says a caterer charges $150 service fee. That's important. It says a service fee. It doesn't say fees. Okay, so I'm going to highlight that. And an additional is important, $12.50 per person. Per person is another important word that I talked to you about, to cater an event. This graph represents what the caterer charges. Write an equation that represents the cost of the caterer charges based on the number of guests. Okay, so I don't even have to look at this problem. All I have to do is look at the equation and look at the word problems, and we can write the equation based on that. So service fee, instead of fees, remember I said your B, we're going to write the equation down again, y equals mx plus b. Your B is a one-time fee, something that happens just one time. Okay, so this says service fee, not fees. So this is my one-time thing. So I'm going to replace B with 150. B is also where it crosses the y-axis. If you look, it crosses the y-axis at 150. So that's another way to check to make sure I'm right. It says additional. Hopefully we know the word additional has add in it, so that means we are going to be adding that together. Remember, your y doesn't change, your x doesn't change, so we have to find a number for the m. I said the m number is being multiplied, so usually when we see the words each, per, and every, that represents my m number. And up here we do. We see that it says $12.50 per person. So, and if you see our x number of guests is x, so this means we are multiplying m times the number of guests, and that says $12.50 per person, so that's exactly what we are doing. So this is 12.5. You could put 12.50x. Okay, another way to know if you didn't get it from up here is to find your points again that cross the x and the y perfectly. So it crosses at 0, and 150. Okay, and then it crosses again at 2. And what would that be? What do you think they're counting by? What's in between 0 and 50? Right, 25. So this would be 150. This is 175. So this is 2 and 175. So when we find our slope, we see that it went up 1, but it really did not go up 1. How much did it really go up? Right, it really went up 25 over, how many did it really go over? Not 1, even though it's 1 square, it really went over by 2. So this is your rise over your run. When you do 25 divided by 2, goes in 1 time perfect, goes in 2 times not perfect, with 1 left over, but 2 goes into 10 perfectly, you still get the same number. Okay? Okay, I'm going to start with an easy one. I'm going to give you just a minute, pause the video, and see if you can guess if A, B, or C is the correct answer for this table. Okay, welcome back. For this, the easiest way to decide, because they didn't use Y and X this time, they used M and A, but that still is my X and that still is my Y, okay? So the easiest thing is this says to take 200 times M, and that should give you your A answer. So let's try that. 200, let's pick an M number. Let's pick 4, okay? So what's 200 times 4? You get 0, 0, you get 800. So is that what we have as our A? No. So A is not the correct answer choice. Okay, so B says that we do 100 times an M number, and then we take what we get and we subtract it from 1,000, and that should give us our A answer. Okay, so this means to do 1,000 minus 100, and the M number we're still going to use, let's still use 4. Okay, hopefully we can do 100 times 4 real quick in our head. That equals 400. So we are going to do 1,000 minus 400. And did we get our A answer? So this is most likely the answer, but let's go ahead and do this one just to make sure, okay? So 200 times 4, we already did up here, so it's 800. So this becomes 1,000 minus 800. Hopefully we can do that quickly in our head and realize we get 200, which is not what we need to be getting. So B, I hope you picked B. B is the correct answer.